beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're talking about some new palettes from Kaleidos. There are two new Futurism palettes. I'm a huge fan of these little 6-pan Futurism palettes. We now have Futurism number 6 and 7. 6 is the Lunar Lavender palette, and 7 is Sashimi City. Kaleidos did send these to me to review for you guys. They are currently available on the Kaleidos website, and they're priced at $24 a piece. These new palettes are part of their Fresh Fantasy collection that just came out. They have some little contour palettes and a lip gloss also in this collection. I'm just going to talk about the palettes today. I'm most interested in the palettes. Surprise to no one. And I really want to show you swatches, and I want to show you looks with both palettes. So we are just talking about the two new Futurism palettes today. Let's talk about Lunar Lavender first. This is, of course, the one I'm wearing on my eyes right now. As usual for Kaleidos, the outer packaging design is just beautiful. They always have these really bright, really graphic looks. Their aesthetic is so recognizable. I always really like it. I always find it very, very interesting. The outer packaging on these palettes is really cool too. It's this little box that opens up like this, and then the palette's inside. Isn't that cute? I think it's cute. I do want to point out a few things that are on this outer packaging. Besides the fact that this is cool, there are a couple things of note here. First, this palette is both cruelty-free and vegan, and we do have some eye safety warning. These are not pressed glitters, so this is probably just due to the pigments in there. Some people have an allergic reaction to certain pigments, and that's why they put an eye safety warning here. If you're not sure if these pigments might irritate your skin, I always recommend patch testing. Just apply some of the eyeshadow to the inside of your arm, let it sit there for a while and see if you get any rash, itchiness, redness. If you do, of course, please don't put it around your eye. I don't have any sensitivities to these pigments. That's never been a problem for me. I always swatch my palettes before I use them anyway, so it's kind of a built-in patch test. For me, when it comes to eye health, better safe than sorry. Pigment warnings aren't a deal breaker for me, but I do always like to bring it up. So if you're not sure, just patch test, no biggie. I just wanted to show you what I was talking about here. They have the shades spelled out. It's pretty clear. I'm glad they're not trying to bury the lead on this. It is 5 out of the 6 shades in here, so if you are somebody that tends to be sensitive to these pigments, then this is probably not the palette for you. But I just wanted to point that out to you there. Now taking a close-up look at the palette itself, it has all of these really cool reflective detailing. It does have a sort of soft touch matte feeling. This is a heavy-duty cardboard, and it does have a magnetic closure on this flap. When we open up inside, there is a small mirror here, and then the dreaded plastic protector sheet. I do wish that the shade names were printed inside, probably selfishly for review and tutorial purposes. I have a hard time keeping track of these little protector sheets. Then we have all 6 shades laid out in here. Nocturnal, Midnight Flora, Wisteria, and Crater Grove are all mattes. Moonroof and Dreamscape are some really pretty shimmers. And just FYI, this deep purple matte shade called Midnight Flora is the one that does not have an eye safety warning. The rest of them do. That's very counterintuitive to me. I would think this would be the one since it's usually red pigments, but I can just go off of what's on the packaging and that's what it says. Now let's take a look at Futurism 7. This is the Sashimi City palette. Compared to Lunar Lavender, of course we have a very cohesive color scheme. Sashimi City is more of a coral, warm, kind of salmon-y orange color scheme. Lunar Lavender obviously is more purpley, but I do think these go together really well. They also have a sort of contrasting design. Lunar Lavender is a lot more flowing, organic shapes. Sashimi City is a lot more angular and geometric. I just think this is such a cool pairing. So I think these play really well together design-wise. They have a good balance between being cohesive and having an interesting contrast. Same style of packaging on the outer carton. This palette is also marked as cruelty-free and vegan, and it does have some eye safety warnings. Same deal here. It may be nothing, It often is not a big deal, but I always like to point it out. I know some of you who watch me do have these sensitivities, so I think it's important from a review standpoint to always make sure we point this out. Make sure we keep all of our beautiful friends safe and healthy out here. Just look at this beautiful detailing. I love it. It's so thoughtful. It's so interesting. They do such a good job. Their design team is just incredible. It opens up the same way, little magnetic flap here. Exact same layout, little mirror, little plastic sheet with all the shade names. Again, 6 shades, 4 of which are matte, 2 are shimmers. The matte shades are Promenade, Gourmet, Salmon, Skyline, and Soy Sauce. And then the 2 shimmers are called Penthouse and Pink Ginger. The ones with the eye safety warnings are Promenade, Gourmet, Salmon, Skyline, and Soy Sauce. Just FYI. Now that we've been over those details, let's take a look at the swatches of these 2 palettes. I will be doing both finger and brush swatches for all the shades in here. The swatches are done on the inside of my arm with no primer down first, just the shadows straight onto my skin. The finger swatches will be pictured on top and then each brush swatch will be below. For my brush swatches, I'll be using my e.l.f. flat eyeshadow brush, and I'll clean my brush off in between each shade using my Veramona color switch. That way there's no shadow transfer between swatches. So let's take a look at all those swatches now. First up, we have the Lunar Lavender palette. Just a reminder that on top are finger swatches and then below are brush swatches. These are done with a dry brush, and I think they are pretty impressive across the board, just how smooth, opaque, and even these shades are, even in the brush swatches. And I think that the shimmers really did a great job applying with the brush as well. With a damp brush, these shimmers would be insanely opaque and metallic, but I think even the dry brush applied them just as well as the finger pretty much. So across the board, very impressed with these. Now that you've seen the palettes swatched, I want to show you a couple of eye looks using each one of these palettes. So we'll do a couple quick, easy tutorials and then I'll wrap up all my thoughts at the end. I'm going to start off just like I always do, first priming my eyes with my favorite eye base. It's the MAC Paint Pot in the shade Painterly. Then I just put a teeny tiny little touch of setting powder so that it's not too sticky and too hard to blend. Next, I'm going in with Nocturnal for my crease shade. This just blends so easily. I take the tiniest dip in with my brush and it just gives me great coverage, really easy to blend, easy to layer. You can see here it's not patchy at all. It's just basically foolproof eyeshadow. I love that. Next, I'm taking Wisteria on a small flat brush and I'm just smudging that along my lower lash line for a little pop of purple down there. Next, I'm using Midnight Flora on another just small flat detail brush and really packing that on the outer part of the eye. The coverage with this purple is so impressive. Often matte purples can be quite patchy and this one is just really smooth and lovely. Drag that down a little bit onto the lower lash line and then I went back in with Nocturnal and did a quick blend just to make sure everything is nice and smooth. Now I'm taking the shade Moonroof. I'm going to use my finger to apply that to the inner half of my lid and just blend out towards that matte purple shade. Then I use Dreamscape on my pinky finger and just did a little dab of that on the inner corners for a little highlight there. Lastly, I took Crater Grove on a pencil brush and smudged that along the lash line where the matte purple is to give a faux liner look. Curled my lashes and added my Huda Beauty Legit Lashes Mascara. That finishes off this Lunar Lavender look. I love this. If you know me, you know I love purple, so it's no surprise that I just really enjoyed working with this palette, really enjoyed how this look turned out. And now it's time to show you the Sashimi City look. I'm going to be prepping my eyes in the same way because I always prep my eyes in the same way. MAC Paint Pot in the shade Painterly, and then just a little dab of setting powder to make it nice and smooth. We're going in with this matte shade called Gourmet. I was worried at first that this wouldn't show up really well on my skin tone, but it actually is just this perfect, soft, peachy color. It has way better pigmentation than I expected. I did go in with just a little bit of Salmon Skyline to warm up the outer crease just a little bit there, kind of blending that through and also down onto the lash line just a bit. Then I use the shade Promenade on a small flat brush, and I'm going to create a spotlight shape, just quickly brushing that onto the outer part and then the inner part of the lid, leaving a little blank space there. We're going to fill in with something very shiny. I'm using the shade Pink Ginger on my finger, starting in the middle of the lid and then just sort of tapping outwards. You can see I'm not really wiping, I'm just tapping to get a nice diffused look with that shimmer shade. Then I used Penthouse. This is a very, very bright shimmer. Just a little dab of that with my pinky finger. Then I curled my lashes, added my Huda Legit Lashes mascara, and that finishes off my Sashimi City look. The shades are simple, the technique is simple, but because these shadows have such pigmentation, the shimmers are so bright, it still is a really impactful look, and I love it. This is just an everyday type of look for me. I've long been a fan of the Kaleidos Futurism formula. I have all the previous little 6-pan palettes like this. I love them. When it comes to the shadows themselves, they're smooth, they're blendable, they really keep their color on the eye. They're easy to work with, they wear well. Formula is definitely a smash hit for me, as is the design. From concept to packaging, they always just manage to do something that really grabs my attention. It feels really different from anything else that's on the market right now, which if you are a beauty lover like myself, you know we see a lot of the same sort of things coming out over and over again, and I never feel that way about Kaleidos. I always feel like there's something a little bit special, a little bit different, and these are more of a toned down color scheme for Kaleidos. They tend to really go for it with brights and often unique color combos, so these do feel a little bit more subtle as far as the Futurism palettes go, which personally I think is great for them. This is going to attract a new audience to the brand, and it's really going to help fill out their line because so many of their palettes tend to be quite colorful, more on the bold side. These palettes with a little bit more softness, a little bit more of a neutral type of feel, really work well within the family of products they already have. I may be a little bit biased because I love purples, I love warm neutrals, so these just really appeal to my personal style. I've already raved about the packaging. I just think it's beautiful, it's thoughtful, it's really, really well done. The only thing I would change is in the Sashimi City palette, I feel that these two brown matte shades are a little bit too close to each other. I would have loved to see a slightly deeper and metallic brown in place of this second matte brown. I just don't think these two shades are different enough to really justify having both of them in, especially in only a 6-pan palette. I think a slightly deeper metallic finish brown would have been the perfect option right here. But overall, I'm a huge fan of both of these palettes. I definitely see myself gravitating towards them, probably even using them in combination together. I definitely highly recommend these palettes, just like I have the previous Futurism palettes, especially if you're somebody that has sort of held off on purchasing from Kaleidos because their color schemes were just a little bit too far out of your comfort zone. I really think these would be a great way to dip your toe into the waters of Kaleidos palettes. Now's the time when I want to hear what you think about these palettes. Are you interested in them? Have you already picked them up? Which one is your favorite? I always love to hear what you think about things too, so make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye! And 7 is Sashimi. The struggle. These So that's that on that. My eyes are so purpley. I love it. And you know, just doing the best I can. Just doing my best. If you can't tell from especially if it I have gotten distracted by my eyeshadow a good 10 to 12 times while filming this video. It's just so shiny and reflective and beautiful, and I love it. I love purple eyeshadow though, so pretty. Alright, anyway, gotta try to get a couple more videos filmed. Gonna have a couple cool giveaways going on soon, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. I love your face so much. Make sure you register to vote. Okay, I love your face. Bye.